Usability testing is always a good question, and I will answer this by talking about paper prototyping first, because I love paper prototyping. Probably one of the most fun things you can do when you're creating any interactive design. It makes it, and this ties into my love of games, it makes it into a game, because you can you have to spend a lot of time cutting and getting little pieces out and making little buttons and all that, but then you present. You have a bunch of people come in and you have them press, with their pencil the button, and you change the screen on the fly. And it's kind of cool because you can immediately spot problems and you can immediately save your time creating, designing, and coding. So that's the first step, and that's kind of a pre-usability, but you are usability testing. And at the end of that process, we always come back and we work with some of the same people that had seen it before and say, hey, this is more acceptance testing, but it's still usability. Here's the interface, now what? Do you think this is what we originally targeted? So getting in front of people with low tech, and as much of a geek I am, is a great advice for anybody.
And we get into usability testing, user testing. Previously I talked about our development model is using a beta 1 and beta 2 for testing. Obviously, we as developers, we test as we're programming. The downfall of that is oftentimes as a developer, you don't think like a user. If you're supposed to click the OK button, as a developer, you might click the OK button 10 times in a row, and you never decide to test what happens if I click the cancel button. With a small company like ourselves, oftentimes we will test the other person's program. That helps tremendously because I might not be familiar with what my business partner's programming, and I can go in there and within 2 seconds break it because I, as a dumb user, thought of something that he didn't. And users are dumb.
Well, we do user testing in a couple of different ways. I mean, in a perfect world, we would bring in 5 to 10 people and we'd film them all, or have those programs that detect, what they're looking at and heat sensors of what they're clicking. We don't have that. Most clients don't have the money for that. So what we do is we start out by having good UI design, by having Jan's, one of my business partners, who's really, really good and really focuses on user interface design, user experience design. So we start out with good principles for that, and we've argued with clients where they wanted to have, there's the classic nav menus where you mouse over it and the menu drops down. We've had clients that say, oh, I want it to be like the start menu on Windows where you can cascade down. And we have to explain to them, no. We're not going to do that. That's a horrible thing. Microsoft has gotten away from that because it's bad user interface design. Having a stock of articles you can send people and email people is very helpful in that regard, which we have. But remember, with the way we do things, we develop the site enough to where we can train the client and then have their people start editing content on it. And right there, that brings up a lot of things. We have a lot of clients say, we've realized after editing content on the site and navigating around ourselves that this doesn't work having it here, or we need a better solution for this piece of content. What can we do? And so we'll change it and alter it as we need to. On a big project, we would have people come in and ask them to do things, and you stand there with the clipboard and watch them and see how they're doing. But that, again, happens very rare just because the budgets nowadays just aren't there for that to happen a lot of times.
Since I myself or the people that we work with usually have a cognizance of code as well as design, it's just a kind of a natural extension of that. So we haven't had to have a third party do A/B testing or things like that.
Right. I mean, and a lot of clients don't want to pay for that. I suppose it would depend on the size of the client, but I'd also say we keep up in that area and keep up in changes in technology and different types of interface changes that occur. So it does become innate when you work with it, I think, all the time. so that helps. Or, even before that, when you do card tests and different types of things with users, we have had very few clients ever really want to pay for it. Even our bigger clients that would have the budget, it's not usually allocated for that type of testing. It's kind of thought that people internally will test it, show it to friends, we'll test it. They're coming to us for our experience in that area, so they feel that, we know what's up to date in that, and that's usually how it happens.